2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Purlwise Podcast, knitting all day. Let's look at it together. Purlwise Podcast, stitch by stitch, we can make whatever. Stitch by stitch, it's made by your friend Claire.
Okay, hi. Just wanted to come on and record a quick video. We'll see if it's quick. Okay, I've given myself half an hour, so we'll see what gets done in that time. Because I don't have a ton of knitting to show. So yeah, I'll show you some sewing FOs, 2 little knitting whips that I have, and then I reached out on Instagram and asked if anybody had questions for me, so I have a few of those and maybe I can answer them. Yeah, I probably won't get to all of them, but I'll do my best. And then hopefully I can get this out before New York Sheep and Wool this weekend. So we'll see. Yeah. Where do I start? Anyways, if you're new here, my name is Claire. This is Purlwise, where I talk about my knitting, largely my knitting and my sewing. Trying to do a bit more sewing. If I sound a little funny, my sinuses have been a bit messed up since I had COVID in May. So I've been getting a lot of sinus infections. So I hope I don't sound weird, but I feel like I sound a bit weird. I also haven't talked yet today. And I just chopped at my bangs and I'm wondering. I feel like they're fine. Okay, anyways, I'll start. Yeah, if ever you have any questions about anything, just put them in the comments. I don't tend to write out the notes anymore, just because it's a lot of work and I'm not sure anybody reads it, and if you have a question, just ask. Okay, yeah, so first finished thing. I'm having a hair stress today. Something about, I don't know, curly hair, it's hard. Okay, first finished thing would be my garden dress, which I showed you last time. The pattern is by Frux Studio, and I made it in a shirting cotton, so pretty fine cotton. I think that the company was called Thomas Mason. Yeah, and I'll show you the full, well, as much as I can show you by backing up. Yeah, so I made a bunch of mods, but they were all fairly straightforward. I know that I made the neck hole, I think 3/4 of an inch wider all the way around. Not a full inch, or maybe a 1/4 inch. It'd be great if I wrote things down, but I'm pretty sure I went a full 3/4. It's supposed to be a fairly tight fitting neck, so I did remove some there. I wish I'd written it down, but sorry. Yeah, I made the neck hole wider. I made the armholes deeper because I knew I would want to wear it over t-shirts, which I'm not sure this is the best t-shirt, but I did add length under here and then sort of evened it out. I think that was about 1.5 inches. And I took seven full inches off the length, which I think I'm happy with. there's another mirror over there. Maybe if I were to do it again, I'd take off a little less, like maybe 6. We just really went wild and did 7. It's kind of like a midi length now on me. Yeah, I think those are all the mods, other than the fact that I didn't quite follow the instructions, and so I ended up having to do, I think, 1 less pleat everywhere. And I talked about that in my last video, so you can go back. Just to preserve the width, I had to take out a pleat at the end, and I think that was all my mods. And I'm really happy with it. Because of my error, it is a little less wide than it should be, but I think the fit is nice. Yeah, it's a bit adjustable because of the ties on the side. I will say I have not finished the ends of the ties, and there's 1 thread. So, sorry about that. Maybe I could. I wonder if they'd look nice with just a little knot. Yeah, sure. Why not? No, I'm gonna undo that and decide later. But yeah. Sorry, my fridge is making a noise. Where was I going? Yeah, I'm happy with it. I think I would make it again. Were I to make it again, what would I do differently? I would correctly follow the instructions for cutting out the pieces. And yeah, you can go back. I'm not going to explain again what I did wrong. I would correctly cut out the pieces. I would add maybe 1 inch back to the length, depending what I was going for. I think I like where the armholes are sitting, which is good. I wonder if I would maybe scoop out the neckline a little bit towards the front, just so it kind of more follows like a t-shirt sort of neckline, potentially. I will say, because I widened the neckline, I can put it on without using that button in the back. Yeah, I think the back neck could stand to be, maybe it's good. Anyways, probably I'd mess with the neckline a little bit. Yeah, and I think I'd stick with a fabric this light, because I think if it were any heavier, like this is already pretty stiff, like you can see how it holds its shape at the front there. I would be really hesitant to do like a mid-weight fabric. I don't know, here if I lift up the skirt you can kind of get an idea of the weight and the drape of the fabric. So yeah, I'd be hesitant to go any heavier than this. Personally, it makes for a really lightweight skirt. I don't know, but it's a good weight. I was worried it was going to be too lightweight, but I think it's great. Oh yeah, and if I were to do it again, depending on the fabric used, this is the the bottom facing. I think that I wouldn't bother with the facing. So you can see it's kind of wrinkled because I had to ease it in. One issue I had with shortening the length, I just had to, for some reason, had trouble matching up the facing pattern to the actual dress pattern, because of course when I shortened, it's shaped like a cone, I shortened the length of the overall dress, which meant that the circumference is less large because I removed some of that circumference. So the facing pieces also needed to be altered, and I don't know why I didn't quite get them right. I mean, part of it is that the facing pieces don't like exactly map onto the skirt pieces. So like the skirt is 4 pieces, front, 2 sides, and the back, and then the facing was just 2 pieces. I hope this is making sense. So I had to like transfer that difference. Anyways, if I were to do it again, I think I would just eliminate the facing. And then if I wanted to keep the facing, I think I would just redraft the facing from the new skirt pieces instead of trying to alter the existing facing pattern pieces. Anyways, hope that's interesting. I will say this is quite an expensive pattern. I think it was about 40 Canadian dollars when I bought it, 37. I understand why, it's like quite detailed, but it also has that issue where it's best to print one size at a time. So if you're getting it printed on, say, A0 paper, which I often do these days, that's like an additional cost if you're going to want to be printing like multiple sizes. So I just sort of went for it because it's also a very large pattern. I thought that if I printed it on regular like A4 printer size paper, home printer size, it would just like take forever to tile it. So it was like, yeah, a $37 pattern, then maybe $25 to get it printed. So yeah, it's a bit on the more expensive side. But I can see myself making it again. I think the size is good. Yeah, I obviously did the sleeveless option, but there is a version with sleeves. So. And one thing I considered when I was doing this, especially looking at like the existing, like the tester photos and people who had already made it, I really wanted a print because I thought it looked a little more interesting in a print. I don't know why, there's something about it, like with a little floral or like a sort of plaid or gingham. I thought it looked, I don't know, I just really liked how the pleats interacted with a pattern. So that was one of the choices I made too. And it also like helped keep me on grain for sure. And making sure my pleats were like pretty, I mean, they're definitely not perfect. They're not exact, but having the gingham gave me like a bit of a guideline to follow. Even though like the size of the pleat doesn't follow the gingham size, which is why you see there's like this sort of shifting pattern. Like it goes from like gray to teal to gray. Yeah, that's a bit better when you don't see the pleats, when the pleats aren't opening up. But yeah, it still gave me some guidelines while I was marking. And yeah, that's it. Oh, I will also say this fabric was fairly wide. It was like in the 59 to probably around 59 inches wide. And for my size, the pattern called for 5 yards of fabric. And I made this using 3.5, and I have some left over. So part of that was because I shortened the length, but I just took some time to like measure the pattern pieces and kind of draw out the size of fabric I thought I might need. Yeah, I just did a little bit of like diagramming to make sure that it would fit onto 3.5 meters before I bought 3.5 meters. And I had some leftover. Not a huge amount, but yeah, there's just, okay, this is not a ton, but about this much. This much left over. So I often these days will purchase less than a pattern suggests because they do build in a lot of excess, and yeah, I took into account the shortening and everything. It's just, okay, it's on the floor. Yeah, so I will say look at that too, because I mean the difference between buying 5 meters or A meter is a bit bigger than a yard, right? Yeah. And, well, yeah, 5 yards and 3.5 meters. Like, it's a big cost difference. And this was not the cheapest fabric, even though I did get it from my job. And so I got a bit of an employee discount. Yeah. Anyways, that's the garden dress. So if anybody else makes it, let me know. It's a bit of an undertaking, but I didn't find it that difficult in the end. It was like an evening or two to pleat the front, and then an evening or two to pleat the back. Like, yeah, you get used to it. So yeah, that is that. Sorry, I feel like I'm kind of rushing, but this is not going to be half an hour, of course. I have another sewing FO, which I will put on for you now. Yeah, so I made this little chore coat. I've been looking for raglan sleeve, like jacket patterns, and came across this one and thought it looked perfect for what I was looking for. I did want to do some sort of like denim chore coat thing, and this pattern is called the Ormond coat. Or jacket, Ormond. It's called Ormond, O-R-M-O-N-D, and it's by In the Folds. So again, the pattern itself wasn't super expensive, but In the Folds is a kind of like their subscription model, where every month they send you like a new project, and this was one of their projects from the spring. And I really wanted it, but it's not available as an individual pattern yet. So I did have to subscribe to In the Folds, and then purchase it on top of that. So I can't remember how much. I think the subscription was about $15 Canadian-ish. And then the pattern was a similar amount. So yeah, but eventually they told me it will be available as an individual pattern. I was just like focused. I wanted it, so I got it. Yeah, and I made this, I believe this is like a 10-ounce denim that I had bought many years ago to make jeans and never made them. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I will say it's like a bit small. They say to choose your size based on your high bust measurement, and then to do a full bust adjustment if you need it. But I decided I'm just like very hesitant to ever do a full bust adjustment because I'm like, I don't have a very large bust. So I did size up from what it said. Like, I chose my size based on my bust measurement instead of my upper bust, or my high bust, because I know that my shoulders can be an issue. And what am I trying to say? I do find it a bit like, it fits, but it's a bit snug. Like, I did grade out at the hip to like the next size up, but you can see, like, I don't think I'd wear it buttoned all the way up anyways, but I just find like this, it looks a bit like it's pulling. So I wasn't totally happy with, maybe I didn't quite follow the size recommendations, but whatever. I thought it was going to be a bit larger. So I think I made the size. I just check. So yeah, I made the size I, and I graded out to the size J. So my high bust measured in at the size H, but my bust was the size I, so I made the size I. And I should have graded out to the size K, I think, at the hip, because I also would have preferred more room at the hip, but I think I'll probably wear it like this anyways. Mostly, like, that's how I prefer a jacket of this style, so yeah, it's fine. Oh, I'm getting hot. Yeah, the only other mod that I made was to shorten the sleeves by 1 inch, which I thought maybe, like, I don't know if that was the right move. I kind of like them rolled up. That's how I've mostly been wearing it. And I kind of wish they were longer so that when they were rolled up they were a bit longer, but I think it's fine. I opted for 20, these are 20 millimeter buttons, 2 centimeter buttons, because I thought it gave more like a more chore coat look with smaller buttons. Larger buttons, it was a bit more, I don't know. I looked at a lot of pictures of chore coats to like try and get like the dimension, like the proportions that I wanted. And I noticed that a lot of like classic chore coats have like a smaller button in proportion to the overall coat. Yeah, chore jacket, chore coat, whatever. I kind of wish this sat a little better somehow. I wonder if I need to move the button slightly. Yeah. The one thing I'm not quite happy with is how this facing underneath looks, but it's mostly covered. Like you can see it's not, it's just looks wrinkly. But it's mostly covered by the, I did it twice. Mostly it gets covered by the collar, so that's okay. I'm trying to ignore it, and I don't see it because it's on the back. And what else? I also had an issue where I did do my notches, which is sometimes I often don't notch my pattern pieces when I'm cutting them out. And because I notched it, when I did my felt seams, flat felled seams, some of them, like I had notched too far in, which I'm sure there might have been guidance in the pattern not to do that. And I missed it, or I was just going quickly, so you can see a bit of like raw fabric at the points that were notched, but I mean, they're not going anywhere, and I think I might just go in with something like blue and just sort of color the white, like weft fabric, weft threads. Like if it weren't a true denim with the white and the blue, you wouldn't see that really, but anyways. Is it the weft or the warp that's blue in denim? I can't remember. Yeah, and I did want a little bit of contrast in my top stitching. So I went with like this gray. So it's not super contrasty, but there's like a little bit of something going on. And yeah, I just had these shell buttons on hand. They weren't like maybe the perfect thing. I thought about getting like jeans buttons, and then yeah, I was trying to make it look more chore coaty. Like you can see it does this here that I don't love, but it's fine. Trying to make it look more chore coaty, so I stuck with like buttons with holes. I might change them at some point. I don't know. Probably not, because it's done and I've been wearing it and it's good. So yeah, that's that. And I was really happy with how my machine handled the denim. There was just some points at the like hem that it struggled with. I will say there were a couple of errors in the pattern, or like places they had some omissions by accident, because there's two views of the pattern. Sometimes I made the view B, so it would be like refer back to view A for this part, and sometimes it forgot to tell you, like there's darts in the size range that I am in, and it like didn't instruct you to go back to view A to like see how to do the darts. And that was something that I noticed, but there were other things that I didn't notice to like go back and look at. Like for instance, the pattern has you cut out interfacing for the cuffs, but then I don't think it told you, I double checked, it didn't tell you to refer back to view A to see how to interface the cuffs. So I forgot because it wasn't in the view B instructions, and I'm actually fine with it. Like I'd rather they not be interfaced. So that part, it's okay. But yeah. And then there was some discrepancy with like the hem and how the hem and the facing interacted. It seemed to suggest that the facing should end here, or something along those lines. Which wasn't the case. Like the facing that I cut out went the full length of the jacket. So, and the other thing, it didn't like tell you to bar tack or anything at the corners of the pockets, so I didn't, and now I think I need to go back and bar tack because I can see it like coming away. But I just should have known to do that. But I kind of hate doing bar tacks. So I was like, it's fine, I won't, because it didn't tell me to. Yeah, so I think so just be aware if you're making view B, I guess, of this coat. Yeah, just make sure to, like, you probably have to read the whole pattern, which is annoying. And I debated whether I should write to them and say those were some little things that I found, but I don't know, whatever. Yeah, so I'm going to take this off because I'm hot. The sun is coming for me. So yeah, now it's been half an hour. Of talking about sewing. Oops. So I'll just show you my little time. This almost isn't worth showing, but I've started another DRK everyday sock. And this is in some Wellington Fibers yarn that my friend Kay gave to me. And you can see it has really nice variegation. It's hand dyed. It's a no nylon sock base. Yeah, and so these I'd like to use up like the whole ball, so I'm just gonna make them as tall as I can. So yeah, not much to say about that, but it's happening. And in this other bag, butterfly bag, I don't remember if I did this on purpose, but it's a butterfly bag, and inside of it is the butterflies flying out of your stash box pattern that I've been knitting for a little while. I think I started this in the spring, possibly. And sorry, I keep bonking. Yeah, I picked this up after I finished my sheep camp and have made a lot of progress on it. I think I was like down, I don't know, I was somewhere around here. And I'm making like the longer size. There are two size options. The longer is just like an extra repeat of this in the middle. Sorry, I keep bonking the needle. So now I've just started decreasing in this section. You can kind of see the line of decreases starting. And I have 200 grams of this yarn, and I kind of was hoping to use up more of it in this, but I could have made it longer, I suppose, but I thought it would be overkill if I made it even longer. So I feel like I'm just gonna break into the second skein, which is kind of annoying, but that's okay, whatever. Where's the middle? I think it'll be a good length, like just to wrap around and then tie in the middle type of thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think it will grow a little bit too because it's garter once I block it. Yeah, I think it's a good length. So I'll just leave it at that once it's done. Hopefully I'm kind of thinking of this as my October Finishtober. I've been watching Jessica Faith Cooper's October vlogs, and she's doing a finish along, and there's a Discord group which I have not been active in, but I've been creeping. So I should post a picture and say this is my entry. I just want to finish it before it gets cold. Oh yeah, the yarn is a farm yarn that I bought at Gaspereau Valley Fibers, and I can't remember where it was from, but I do remember that it was from a sheep named Ewan. I talked about it in the first episode where I showed this, which was back in the spring, and I'm curious about this yarn. It's like, so I'm wondering if it's hand spun, like it's just so irregular. Yeah, so that's that, and I'm really enjoying knitting it. Like, it's just, even with the irregularities, there are some parts that are really thin, and you can't really see here, but more clanking. Yeah, it's hard to see from your vantage point, but looking through it, like, I can see the parts that are thin and thick, and it's really lovely. It's maybe not like the ideal cable yarn, but I think it's working up great anyways, and I think I will wear this. I've talked about this before probably. I'm not really a shawl, I'm more of a scarf person than a shawl person. So that's been really fun, and I can honestly see myself knitting another one of these. I just really like the wonkiness of it, and I like doing the cables. I don't know, it's just really nice. So yeah. Ooh. I guess I'll have to wind up that other skein just to do the very end. I didn't plan this very well, but that's fine. I think that the leftovers, I don't know, they could be used in color work or something nice, or alongside some hand spun, so that's fine. So yeah, hopefully that'll be done by the end of October, and that's all the knitting I have to show you now. Oh, and maybe I'll work on my sock a little bit. Okay, I've been recording for 35 minutes. Let's aim for 45. Maybe I can just spend a little bit answering some of your questions. I feel like a lot of people, oh sorry, I'm just pulling them up. A lot of people asked about favorite yarn. Slick Ponies said favorite yarns to work with, not necessarily brands, but fave blends. Somebody else asked this. Oh, Castle Grey Skull. Do you have any favorite yarns? And they said, I love all your choices and your makes. Thank you. And I will say I was thinking about this yarn when people asked, and not necessarily like this yarn being my favorite, but I think I like a woolen spun fingering 2-ply is like my favorite kind of yarn. I'm definitely loving like more like rustic yarns. I'm not like I feel like I rarely knit with merino, partly because, probably partly because I like a woolen spun, but also partly because of the like durability. Like I don't like how it pills. Favorite yarn would be a woolen spun 2-ply. Like for instance, I have some Whistlebear Cheviot Marsh, and I love that. I love that. So yeah, that's a good thing to think about before going to New York Sheep and Wool this weekend. Looking for something along those lines. I love a farm yarn. That's just the kind of thing that makes me really happy. And, a hand-dyed is really lovely too, but I feel like I rarely knit with hand-dyed yarn, just because of the cost. But when I do knit with it, I like it. Like what is this that I'm knitting with now? I think it's a 2-ply, which is oh no. 1, 2, yeah. Nope, 3. It's a 3-ply. So I like this too. But yeah, a 3-ply can be nice as well. I definitely tend to, I'm rambling. Let's stick with my first answer. A woolen spun 2-ply, rustic yarn, farm yarn. My friend Cecilia said, help me fix my failed attempt at a Guy Fieri flame pattern sweater. I would love to help you, Cecilia. I wish you didn't live so far away now, but I'll help you from a distance if I can. Buzzy Bee Crafts asked what my favorite non-garment make is, and there's probably something else, but what came to mind first was my quilt. Which I've shown a couple times. Fresh as a Daisy quilt is the quilt pattern. Yeah, basically any quilt I've ever made. This is my second quilt. The one I made recently was my third quilt. And those, I think, other than like, I won't get into that, but like my things I've made for art purposes, back when I was making, is that better? Back when I was making more artwork. There's probably something in there, but that's like its own category. Oh yeah, Wildflower Magic Knits asked, what project are you most proud of, knit or sew? And I think that's like in a similar vein. I don't know. I feel like right now it definitely changes, but right now the thing that I felt most satisfied with recently was probably the silk dress I made to wear to my friend's wedding in the spring. Let's say that, because I don't know, I have so much trouble picking favorites of things. Like, it's so conditional. I don't know. I'm like, there's that tweet that's like, I'll put it here. Like, I don't know. It depends. It depends. Everything depends. Couple people asked, Emily Makes Crafts. Hello, Em. How did you start knitting and sewing? Somebody else, I feel like, asked, Katie RYNB. Katie Rinby asked, when did you learn to knit? And I learned both knitting and sewing as a kid from my mom. So thanks, Mom. She often comments, so if you see her in the comments, Christy. My mom's name is Christy. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, I learned both skills from my mom, and then went on to like dive deeper into them on my own. Like when I was a teenager, I spent a lot of time knitting, like in high school. And I guess that, I can't remember when Ravelry started, but, sorry, there's a loud truck going by. Yeah, I found Ravelry when I was in high school, and really got obsessed. And so learned a lot of skills on my own that way, and really expanded my like knitting skills. Although I feel like, yeah, I didn't have the overall skills to like make a successful finished garment that I would like until like quite recently, like starting in 2020. I definitely tried to make sweaters when I was younger and failed. Not failed, but like they weren't what I wanted them to be, or I could not like complete them because I wasn't happy enough with how they were going. So yeah. And it's really nice to think back about that time, because I remember being a teen and like my dream was to go to Rhinebeck. And it's crazy to now be living that dream. Yeah, it's just really funny that that was like my teenage dream. Yeah, I don't know, this is something I think about a lot, that like what would teen Claire think of my life now? Like, I'm gonna cry. I mean, yeah, everybody has like insecurities about their lives. But when I think about what teenage Claire would have wanted for me, she probably just would have wanted like a cute space to like watch TV and do crafts. And that's literally what my apartment is. So, I have, my little desk, and I have all my supplies, and I'm going to Rhinebeck just like she wanted. So yeah, back in the day, I remember reading a lot of blogs. Like I remember reading Isolde's blog, and I think Laura Chow, if I'm remembering her name correctly. Those are two that I remember reading. And I'm pretty sure they attended Rhinebeck at some point, and so I got it in my head that I wanted to go, and now I'm going. It only took whatever, like 20 years, a bit more, or a bit less than 20 years maybe. Yeah, so that's cool. So I'm just gonna keep going, whatever. Someone asked, how do you find patterns? Usually when considering new projects. That was Xantho Knits, and Magic Secrets asked a similar question. How do you choose what you make? Do you have a plan, or is it freestyle? I think that's, and yeah, I'm very not very impulsive with my making, but I tend to I don't have like a big overarching plan, for sure. I am constantly on Ravelry, like saving things to my favorites, and on Instagram also saving things. And when I'm ready for a new project, I don't know, but then some things will really like implant themselves, and I'll be like, eventually I'm gonna get to that. So yeah, it really varies, but I have lots of things saved. And when I'm in need of a project, there's usually one that comes to mind. And when I try and force it too much, it doesn't tend to work. It kind of has to come together with a good yarn choice too. I do really love project planning. I feel like that's a big part of this as like a hobby for me, is like researching yarns and finding like the perfect substitute, like looking at who else has used maybe that yarn or similar yarns for a project. So it's really a lot of just research, which I love. And I feel like that is the kind of thing that happens sometimes if I am like too low energy to actually knit, or like I've encountered a problem, or I made a mistake or something, then I'll turn to like project planning instead. I definitely Kate Full Hands asked what my fall knitting mood board / inspiration is. And I definitely am not someone who like mood boards or plans out my wardrobe, maybe to my own detriment. Like I think that it would help me to do that, and maybe give me like more guidance in terms of like what I should make that would like go with the other things that I own. But yeah, it's not something, I've never felt like organized enough to do that. So like when I'm project planning, it's more about like what I think I am largely a process knitter, although I do like the product. I'm picking things because they look interesting to make and not necessarily always thinking about like how the color will work into like my overall wardrobe. So more and more I'm thinking about like, I am trying to be more organized and like intentional about it, but I definitely think about like having neutral sort of bottoms, like pants and skirts, so that I can make like whatever sweater and still have things to wear it with. So yeah, that's something that I do think about. And I've been really wanting some like patterned pants recently, but then being like, how will that interact with like a lot of the sweaters that I have? Anyways, so that's definitely not something that I feel like I've got a good system for yet. And just, yeah, like not a mood boarder, but I wish I was. I feel like it's kind of comes from this mentality of like being a fat person and always just sort of making do. Sorry, this lighting is like all over the place. I feel like you get used to just making do. Is that better? With like what's available. Yeah, and it's less like if I have a vision, I can find all the pieces. It's like, these are the pieces I can find, and how can I like make something cohesive out of that, I guess is where it's coming from. And I wish that, I mean, now that I'm more able to make my own clothes, I do feel like I should be able to work from that like vision backwards instead, but I still find, I mean, part of this is like my own insecurity, my own like struggle to like accept my body, is that I often don't like how things look on me. So even if I'm like, this is the vision, I can make this look like this, and then I put it on and I'm like, it's not how I wanted it to look. But that's very much like, yeah, about me and where I'm at with like the acceptance part of things, which, you know, it's kind of hard to talk about, but I mean, not hard emotionally, but it's just like, I mean, maybe hard emotionally, but also like seems like something we're not supposed to talk about. Like we should just be like happy about things all the time. Anyways, I'm rambling. Magic Secrets asked if I also asked if I had any hot takes on the yarn community, and there's just one that comes to mind that I've had on my mind forever, which is that I hate, and I like almost hesitate to say it, like I don't even want to say it because I hate it so much, but I hate the term knitting mojo so much, and every time I hear it I'm like, so that's my hottest take, is that I think that's wretched. And Magic Secrets, thank you asked so many questions. Asked what my other hobbies are if I have them. I will say the last like year and a half I've gotten really into like journal stuff and planner stuff. I think part of it is because I was like following Bronte Swanek for a long time on YouTube, and she sort of pivoted to doing planner content, and then I was like, oh no. Oh no. So yeah, it's kind of her fault. I'm definitely not like a perfect planner person. Like I don't make these like beautiful spreads. I trying not to like be a sticker adult, just because you know, I'm wary of hobbies that just involve like consumption. I like the aspect of journaling and planning where it's like functional and like serves me and like helps me feel more creative and interested in the world and obsessed with things that I like, and you know, so yeah, I'm trying to like develop my own planner system with that in mind, rather than like, I feel like a lot of planner sort of YouTube culture stuff is really like about logging your life, which I'm less interested in. I don't need like a daily log. I just want something that like facilitates my like ability to be in my brain and feel comfortable there, which is something I've been struggling with over the last few years. So I go into it with that mindset. I'm especially going into 2025 thinking about it in that way, and less about like just buying stuff. So I will say right now this year I've been in a Hobonichi cousin. This is my second year. Last year I had an avec for the second half of the year, and that was my first like introduction to Hobonichi. And then this year I've been in the cousin with mixed results. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think I'm gonna get a cousin for next year, although I love this like cover on cover that I have. Yeah. I really like this is funny. I had to cancel all my plans. I am a vertical weekly. I love a vertical weekly. That was obviously not a very busy week. So I need a planner that has a vertical weekly for sure. Like it just helps me, like drawing out my week often helps me feel more focused and less overwhelmed. I just don't know that I need the daily pages, because I often, again, like I said, I don't want to be an obsessive logger of things. Like I don't think every day needs to be remembered. And actually it's like probably kind of better if you don't remember every single day of your life. That's just a personal opinion. Especially because a lot of days I'm like, nothing of note happened. Yeah, so I find I'm not using a lot of the daily pages. And then if I have like a hard week or whatever, like especially I notice with my cycle, there are some parts of my cycle where I'm like really not at all interested in like being reflective and writing about the day. So yeah, I'd like to go away from that mode, even though I love the cousin. I think it's beautiful. I'm also not keeping ephemera or whatever. Like I just am writing. And I often use the daily pages for like to-do lists and like planning, but anyways, I think next year I'd like to be in my traveler's notebook. Right now in here there's I did buy 2 planners this year because I wanted to try the Sterling Ink Common Planner. So I've been using that to track. I was doing the Artist's Way with some friends, so I was tracking that in the Sterling Ink Common Planner, and then I sort of have like a kind of commonplace sort of everything book in here. So yeah, where I write down, like I read a lot, so I write down passages from books that stood out to me. I just make notes about things that I'm working on. Like I have like my notes on my gardening. There's a sticker a washi tape moment for you. Yeah, notes about my writing. I'm trying to write more. That's another hobby, I suppose. Yeah, notes from one of my podcasts, like things like that. Like I don't know if this is true commonplacing, but that's how I'm thinking of it, as like a common sort of book. So yeah, I think next year, real tangent, but this is one of my hobbies. Next year, I think my ideal setup would be like I'm saying this like casual. I'm like, no, I've really planned this out. Ideal setup would be this like common book, And then I want to get a sort of vertical weekly planner booklet, and then a booklet to journal in. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm wondering if maybe journaling might happen in a separate book too. I don't know. I'm just gonna sort of start off 2025 and see how it goes. So yeah, that's my other sort of hyperfixation hobby. I added this little pearl to my traveler's notebook cover. And yeah, other hobbies, writing. I play music. I'm in a band, like I've mentioned before, and that playing music is very much like a social thing for me. It's not something that I really do by myself, although I love to listen to music by myself. I feel like there was one more question. Oh, going off of that, reading is another actually big hobby of mine. And Granger Danger Designs asked, what have you read lately? And yeah, the last few years I've been really reading a lot. A lot. I guess it's all relative. I'm aiming for 52 books this year, and I'm at 46, I think. I'm almost there. I do use my Goodreads challenge every year. And yeah, the past couple years I managed to get around 50. I think a couple years it was 56 books. Anyways, a book a week is what I'm aiming for. And achieving. So things I've read recently, I literally last night finished The Wonder Engine by T. Kingfisher, who has been one of my favorite authors for a while now. I'm just sort of reading everything she's written. That is skews more on the fun side of reading for me. Fun. I previously in my life have very much been a book snob, literature, only read literature, and part of me reading more has been me trying to find some more fun books. Oh no, I dropped Stitch. Some less serious books to be reading. And I'm happy, I'm happy to not be as much of a snob anymore. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a good move, honestly. But yeah, so I finished The Wonder Engine last night. That was the second book in a duology, and they were both good. What else? I am listening to the audiobook of Empire of Wild by Cherie Dimaline. I had previously read The Marrow Thieves and Venko and really liked both of those, and I am enjoying Empire of Wild right now. I just had to stop listening to it because I ran out of hours on my Spotify. But I think I can start again. Yeah, other good books I've read this year. I really loved All Fours by Miranda July. Loved it. Obsessed with it. I want to reread it already. And I read Babel 17 also this summer by Samuel R. Delany. And that was a really good book. I definitely love science fiction. I read the Imperial Raj series by Anne Leckie. Is that it? Sorry, I have to look everything up. Imperial Radch, Radch. It's a trilogy by Anne Leckie. And I loved that. Yeah, I guess I could go on and on. But yeah, I'm really happy to be reading a lot and liking what I'm reading. Yeah, anyways, I could talk about books forever. It's not something I've ever included in the podcast because I don't know, I don't always love hearing about other people's books, but yeah, if that's, I mean, I always run out of time anyways, which, look, here I go. It's been an hour now. Yeah, if that's something you're interested in, let me know. And maybe I can just like tell you what I'm reading. I mean, yeah, I'm not really I don't love summing up book. Like, I don't love talking about the plot of books, but I love to say this is what I read and I liked it or I didn't like it. And this is what I would like to read, you know, that kind of thing. I'm not ever gonna like tell you what a book is about. I'm just gonna say, anyways, yeah, if that's something that interests you, let me know. Okay, so it's been an hour now. I hope this was interesting. I hope that, yeah, if you're going to New York Sheep and Wool this weekend, I'm not quite sure if there's any like sheep camp meetup planned, but maybe I have to talk to Mackenzie and see if that's something, if it is a thing. I will post about it on Instagram. Yeah, that's just like the easiest way, and maybe I can make a community post. We'll see. But yeah, if you see me at New York Sheep and Wool, please feel free to say hi. I might be very overwhelmed and awkward, and if so, I apologize. I foresee myself being very overwhelmed. So yeah, just know that if I'm a bit weird, it's not because of you, it's because of me. And yeah, I hope you're having a great start to fall. Or I don't know, I guess we're right smack dab in the middle of it, but I hope you're enjoying your autumn time. And I will talk to you after Rhinebeck. Okay, bye.